Hi guys, welcome to Mustache Plates, and this is art log 1002. This is the second day of the project, and from the day one I have done quite a lot of improvement with regards to the overall setup of the scene itself and what kind of sort of mood I want to go with. So let me show you the final look. So this is how the project looks like right now. I have created the background images or the background setup for the main object, and I have also given it a basic color palette, just the color scheme, just to see how the overall image or the overall look of the project is. And now let me show you the before and after, the difference between day 1 and 2. With the end of day 1, I was done with the modeling of our main object, and from day 2 I have also modeled the rest of the scene, the trees, and also created the color scheme. Now let me remove everything so I can show you step by step what I have done. This is how the project looked like at the end of day 1 with just the base model completed. And so for the day 2, what I wanted to do is to start with a reference image of how the background setup is going to look like, or the overall setup is going to look like. I found this particular reference image of the forest, and it looked applicable to the project that I'm creating. So just imagine the main house being in the middle of the forest where the red light is. It has a foreground, a midground, and the background, and this is something exactly what I want for the project. And so I went with this kind of reference image. In order to create the trees, I used these cylinders, and I just scale them vertically, and also I scale them from the base, so it looks like it's kind of a tree shape, thicker at the bottom, and then it's going a bit slimmer as it goes up. And then I keep placing them based on the reference. So I have some of them in the foreground, some of them for the midground, and then the rest of them as the background. Once I feel good with the main trees, I added few more small branches to them, so they look more like trees and not just the cylinders. So they will be able to break the whole shape of the cylinder and looks more like a tree shape. Once I was happy with the tree itself, it was time to add the foreground. For the foreground, it was mainly made up of all the grass or the foliage. So I just tried to add whatever plants I had in my inventory. I started with the ferns. I started placing them near to the camera itself, so they would be blocking the lower part of the frame. So it looks like we are trying to peek inside the this whole scene itself. And then I just tried adding more and more variations to the plants to give it a bit more character, so it doesn't look very uniform also if we have just one kind of plants. And then I also added some of them near the branches or at the end of the branch, so it doesn't look very odd, or at least we cannot see the end of the cylinders. For the light, I only used sunlight for now. I just angle it towards the entrance of the house or wherever the door is, and then I just gave it a slight strength of 2, and that's all for light for now. One more thing about the plants, I didn't model them. This is what I had gotten from either Polyheaven or the Polygon. I have few different variations of the plants with me, and then I just keep using them for all my projects. So if you can find some plants from either of those two free ones, you can just grab them. Now coming to the texturing part. At this point of stage, what I want from texturing is just to set up a color scheme for the background and the main subject, and just to see what kind of color scheme matches, or what kind of color scheme suits the best. And before I can do any kind of texturing, I also changed the setting. I've changed the color profile from AGX to standard. AGX is better if you're doing the real life rendering, so the colors will get affected by the light strength. But if you are doing more of a toon kind of a render, then standard is much better. Now for the texturing, I'm using cell shader for every single thing. It's principal shader with shader to RGB connected to color ramp, and I'm gonna use it for every single object there is in my artwork. It's just different color palette for every one of them. At this point of the project, the color variation doesn't really matter that much. All I want to see is how the color scheme is showing up in the actual artwork. So for the trees, what I have done is I have picked a color scheme of green, and then I have played around with the value itself. The trees that are closer to the camera are going to be a bit darker, and then moving away from the camera is going to be brighter and brighter. So as you can see, the foreground is the darkest, and moving away the background is the brightest, and also the least saturated. For the house itself, I just kept it simple. I want the main house to be in reddish hue, and everything around it, I want it to be something similar in pinkish or orangish hue. So the whole idea or the concept is the background or the trees are gonna be in the greenish hue, green, bluish, subtle yellowish, and the main object is gonna be, the main color is gonna be red. So red, orange, and pink. One more thing I have done at this point is to create the outlines. Outlines are essential if you are gonna go with a toon look or the 2D look. For this one, there are two steps. One is the texture, another one is the geometry nodes. For texture is quite simple. I just use the RGB and then choose the color that I want for my outlines, and then just change these color settings, and then I set up the geometry node itself. We can also use the solidify modifier, but since I'm using geometry nodes nowadays, I want to try the geometry node method. So it's just set position, scale, and then normal, and then the set material and join geometry. And with this, I'm able to control how thick I want the outlines to be. And I have for now applied the outlines to all the trees. Soon I will apply it to the main object itself. But yeah, this is all I have done for the end of day 2. Then moving on to the day 3, most likely I'm going to work a bit more on the modeling part, just to give a few more details to the trees. Currently they are all cylindrical shapes, so I want a bit more variation, maybe a few bumps here and there. And then for the texturing itself, I want to give a few variations to the colors. So I would either use some kind of texture map to give it a bit more character, a bit more variation, or maybe I'll just use the procedural method to create some kind of variations. Either one of them. But yeah, those are the few things that I really want to work on and improve based on the end of day 2. As always, thank you for watching. We will continue with day 3. And if you haven't done yet, you can subscribe to this channel and also follow me on the Instagram. Thank you. Bye bye.